If you like what we do here, be sure to like and subscribe. Even support us on Patreon. Now let's go.
Good. Testing.
Yeah, testes 1, 2, and that's staying in.
That's it. Yeah, we got 2. That's no more than that.
Greetings, Pauper Commander players. You're going to notice something interesting right off the bat. My friend Dax here is indeed not the winner of yesterday's, at the time of this recording, tournament. It's a very interesting fact indeed. So much of an interesting fact that this may be a refreshing beverage, or it could be Remy Martin XO. I'll let you guess. So
yeah, I'll just put the fringe here on myself. I'll let people guess what I'm drinking. I try to show any logos here at 11:30 on the East Coast in the morning.
No doubt. Yeah. So I know that we're laughing and joking. It's what we're going to be talking about is somewhat of a serious thing. And to be honest with you, and Dax would agree, we are laughing and smiling to stop from crying. So that's exactly what we're going to do. It's a psychosomatic nervous response, and we're just going to let it happen. Let it all come out. So I'm going to preface. So yesterday was a tournament, Sanctuary 9, Dax's first foray into the tournament space after taking over Sanctuary from Bobby. I would suggest overall everything leading up to it went well. We were able to capitalize on getting some additional signups, in addition to a few people dropping out for in real life stuff, but it kind of evened out. I would suggest that we had an average attendance experience that we would expect in Sanctuary. So everything started off great. And then we progressed through the tournament. A winner who we are not going to announce the name of, kind of occurred in the finals. It was accepted at the time that was the case. Interviews were set up, blah, blah, blah. And then to kind of preface you a little bit, when Clay had the benefit of, shutting off the computer and going to bed, Dax was contacted by a few folks within the community who also will not be named. And then a series of investigation items happened. And I believe this is your turn.
Yeah. So again, you are correct here. First foray into being a TO. It felt, like I said, on my end, it felt like a lot of moving parts. A lot of learning how to make the sausage in the production part of making the sausage. But no, I appreciate everyone involved. I know even like competitors had to bounce out last minute. I know Brad was supposed to cast with us, but unfortunately work stuff came up for him. So then I was just like, I don't want to leave Derek high and dry. So I put myself into that space, having a little bit of experience in the casting booth in a different game entirely, but having that piece there. But all in all, I think the tournament went well. Couple things, just, I guess casting, you have a 30,000 foot view of everything that's going on, less involved into the gameplays and the in and outs in each individual turns. So, and then after the fact, just watching back through the VODs, because I was hoping to, rip each individual game, put them up onto the YouTube, and just hopefully start putting out some content. And just some occurrences had happened that I maybe I had noticed, and then actually it became almost repetitive from game to game, which kind of led me to dig in a little bit further and put a little bit of pen to paper there, and then came to an unfortunate realization that some stuff had happened that was against the rules, and I kind of felt a need to make a decision quickly. Just for the sake of the integrity of the online competitive format, which is kind of where I want to take my stand there, where it's, I think it's already under an overwatching eye or scrutiny, just because we aren't in person. There's a lot of trust that goes involved where there probably shouldn't be a lot of trust involved. But by and large, just the community as a whole, I wanted to at least make that individual announcement this morning. and take that stand, just to, like I said, just kind of keep everything above board, and then just kind of set the mindset moving forward that we're just, we're here to play competitively, may the best person win, but within the same constructs of just playing as an in-person tournament.
So to be clear, so the outcome of your investigation last night was that you had discovered that you had mentioned consistencies. You had mentioned that this one particular player was discovered to have additional cards during turns that they should not have. So in other words, for clarity, as you start out with 7 cards typically, and as you progress through the game, you go through these game actions of adding and subtracting cards from your hand as you play the game. And this person was discovered to have additional cards in their hand at times that they shouldn't have. So what that resulted in was the formulation of a ban announcement with documentation in the VODs with the evidence outlining that support that particular series of events. And then you made an announcement in Sanctuary, which was then broadcasted into the various servers. I was going to say network. So folks within your particular network who are connected to the online scene have likely reciprocated your actions of taking a ban for this particular player. And therefore kind of, I don't want to say completely erasing the possibility for future interactions, but more than likely creating a circumstance where that player is not engaged in online play. I mean, alt accounts can be made, but like you can't hide your voice and your play style and that sort of thing. So once that happened, and in part and parcel to your ban announcement this morning, you also indicated that the next 4 players, so 2 through 5, were then awarded a split on top 4 prizing, and this I will say Chris one more game that puts Chris one more game in the first place position with his Malcolm Kettis. Had a good day yesterday, so not totally.
Turns out good deck is good.
Yep. Yeah, not totally undeserving. So I think I covered the synopsis of that. Once again, we are intentionally obscuring the names of folks involved in the entirety of this process to include the person that was banned, because we don't want to promote an environment where any harassment continues. Something happened, the evidence was evaluated, and a decision was made. Part of this video is in the place of the normal Winner's Circle interview, is to help provide that clarity to the community and also provide reassurance from not me. I'm just the squawky guy in the talkie box, but like from Dax, who is the leader. I know in my conversations with him that a decision needed to happen quickly and affirmatively and decisively. And if I'm going to ascribe any of my feelings or anything like that, I think he accomplished that. I mean, look at the big balls on Dax, right? So,
again, just like I said, this hasn't been, unfortunately, I think this is maybe the second or third iteration here in, at least the Pauper sphere. I know that's kind of what is maybe a stain on the CEDH online sphere as well. So it was just kind of more of a, hey, like this is going to be addressed. Let's work together as a community to, how do we prevent this from happening in the future? Besides just us all just saying we trust each other, but because at the end of the day, it's a competitive format.
Trust but verify.
Money and prizes. Correct. Yep, absolutely. So if I can do what I can up front to kind of help mitigate a lot of those chances or those lines for players to, be disingenuous in the gameplay. I mean, the community itself as a whole, like I said, I think they just kind of moved on from what I could tell at this point. Like I said, it's only been a handful of hours since the announcement. But again, I just made my decision for my Discord. But knowing the other event holders and the other Discord and community members who maybe put on their events, I just gave them the evidence that I had come up with from my event and the decision that I made in my Discord. Now, like I said, it's up to them if they want to look through that, dig in further, find maybe some other some other things maybe that they have from their events to kind of to just maybe open up an eye there. But that's at least on my stand that, I don't want to, again, just try to cultivate a nice community where people feel comfortable enough to come into a server when either new to the format or want to try a different deck and play. And, I guess in open play, you have the option or the ability to play with who you want to play with. But if you step into a tournament, it's kind of all randomized. And then you don't have the ability to not play or play with somebody. So in the tournament scene or on the TO side, it's kind of a more forced interaction, which tends to lead to feel bads and to people not playing in tournaments. So again, and I think Bobby did a fantastic job leading up to and then having the voice of Sanctuary that I was able to kind of reword everything, but was able to use kind of his structure on a lot of these announcements that I didn't have to do too much thinking at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I can just kind of formulate everything, sleep on it, and then just reconfirm the feelings and not be too hasty in that decision making. That it was kind of slept on. Now, not much sleep, but it was slept on this morning, and just tried to finalize everything else.
I think that's important to annotate as well, is that you didn't take this decision lightly. You didn't conduct it hastily. You entered into a process, and was systematic about it and worked through some potential opportunities, even leaving opportunity for the said individual to provide counter, to whatever the claims were. And yeah, I know this is what Dax won't say is, I know this was hard is a weird word. Difficult's a weird word. I know this is kind of a pain in the ass for you because, and I'll say it for you. You don't have to say it. Pain in the ass for you because it's 2025. The community's already kind of gone through a little bit this particular calendar year, and you didn't want to engage frivolously with something of this nature. And at the end of the day, the health of the online community is paramount. So that's kind of what led up to this. I will say that even from my own perspective, although I intentionally didn't get too involved with any of the discovery or investigation or anything like that, but I had cautioned people privately to not be hasty, consider everything carefully, and largely the reason why is I thought this person, on average, was a likable person and had talent and a skill set. So I mean, there was this vein of plausibility that things work out. I mean, the last previously banned, not that I'm bringing up bullshit, but the last previously banned person had a win rate of 51%, and nobody batted an eye at that. So, I think with respect to that, I think that you worked through the pieces with respect to leaving it on other members of the community, TOs, myself and Doc Guide and what have you, to make up our own minds. Having discussed with you behind the scenes of, how the allegations turn into investigation, and then the parts and pieces that you worked yourself through and your discovery and what have you, our rapport is enough that it was kind of like a, Dex found this. I trust that. We're gonna march in concert. So, are you getting messages at
No. I am. I'm still like a couple things here and there, just from a couple TOs, but no. Just keeping an eye on. I have a sick cat, so I'm just making sure that he came down into I'm in the basement, so he came downstairs. So I'm just making sure he's okay. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to do my due diligence. I wanted to have no doubt left. No stone unturned. I had people double check my work that I trusted, who were not involved in that weren't playing, weren't around. No particular play there as well. But I trusted their observations just to double check what I had found. And again, the TOs that were up as early as I was this morning that had the time to triple and quadruple check just what I had found, and it kind of confirmed again and reconfirmed that that the thinking was there and the evidence was there. So again, it's unfortunate because I do agree. Like I said, the individual was a likable person in the format. I had some personal games with this individual as well. Kind of lent to go to the same direction of the games in the tournament yesterday, but again, ultimately at the end of the day, like I have to do what's best to cultivate the format, the online tournament scene.
Personal feelings aside, people got to get God if they have behaviors. So
correct.
The way it goes. Okay. Any last things on? I mean, I feel like it is what it is. We've when I say we, you,
me, like I said, to your point, like I said, if anyone has any, and like I said, I will look into things. I'm not just going to turn a shy eye to even if it's somebody like along the lines of just speaking out of turn, like even if it's something on Clay. Not to put that out there and have people come flying into my DMs that Clay is a criminal or whatever the case might be, but at the same time, like I said, I will look into everything just to kind of keep everything above board. And for Sanctuary, I don't want people to stop interacting in Sanctuary and hanging out in the water cooler chats or playing and just pick up games because there's some things can kind of just go unchecked. So
absolutely,
at least want to uphold the integrity of just at least the gameplay that happens inside where I can control.
And to that, like I don't make many mistakes, but I make mistakes. The last one that I can remember is that Liam flew into a game. I was playing TPI at the time and untapped a whatever that golem is that doesn't untap. It only untaps when I mistakenly untapped that creature on my my upkeep when I shouldn't have. Yep. That's the one. And I make mistakes too. But I've also got a lot to lose, so I try not to make mistakes. So, okay. The administrative stuff aside, I think, so from my own personal perspective, plus conversations I've had with other players who engaged in Sanctuary 9 as well, I thought the play was amazing. We had a representative sample. Oh, this is a good time to bring this up. So normally on a Sunday after a tournament, Clay goes through, along with having like a winner's interview and what have you set up. I also go through the data and add that to the back end of cpdh.guide. I think it is agreed upon. I made somewhat of a soft decision in my head and then triple checked with some other folks as well to make sure that my rationale was correct. As it would be inappropriate to add Sanctuary 9 to the data given the circumstances, because even if I record, the games where this person wasn't involved as singular events, the composite analysis that happens on the back end for these tournament occurrings and how they are applied to the data, that would be somewhat affected, and it just wouldn't be... It would take a lot of work to really just isolate those games as singular events, because then they would lose the context of the whole. So that said, I won't be adding this to the back end. However, as I was about to do before we had this little caveat here, there were some really interesting things that happened in yesterday's tournament that I think is a strength of the community and where we're at. A lot of you guys who have followed some of the recent data reporting from myself and Puzzle and maybe some of the power rankings have been on the lookout for that. Was it Furnace Hellkite? Is that the name of the creature? Piloted by Ginger, who had previously top forward a Sanctuary event with Bilbo Baggins. That deck came in and performed. So, I mean, if we were
Yeah,
to,
two top fours, I believe. Right? I
yeah,
think for Ginger, yeah, the first one I think he hit Bilbo. Bilbo, he hit top four, and then in this instance with a different deck, Furnace Hellkite, he was able to sneak into the top four as well.
Yeah. So even prior to the adjustment, so in the original top four and then the adjusted top four, Ginger made it into the top four with that Furnace Hellkite list. I'll be talking with them later this week. I'm going to definitely harass them for a list. So that's the other unfortunate thing. Without adding the data to the to Dot Guide for the tournament, adding a top four list to the library makes it kind of an awkward thing too. But that said, I wanted to point out Ginger's efforts because there's a likelihood that they'll end up in the next top four given performances. So be on the lookout. Good job, Ginger. Another interesting list that showed up was from Benjamin. That was Akira. I can't remember Akira's full type line.
Fearless Voyager.
Akiri, not Akira. Akiri, Fearless
Yes.
Voyager. Very interesting combat-based deck that helps kind of generate card advantage. Ben is known for, at least I think he's known in the community for engaging in these like super interesting mid-rangey combat-based things. I would dare to say he's somewhat of a pioneer, considering that only a few folks have chosen that path. I would put him in the pioneer category for working those concepts out. So yeah, he had a, previous and new top four, hypothetical, appearance. So yeah, there are other things to consider. Fangbearer actually had a nice showing. Kind of, typically, historically, there you go. That's a more appropriate word. Historically has performed low, over the course of tournament, showings. Kind of ended up in the middle of the pack, with at least one win, I think, in this tournament. And then let's see. I'm not going to mention that Corpse Knight guy. I'll let you do that.
No, yeah, like I said, we did see. Like I will preface this, right? Like where Gretchen is popular, that's been kind of the talk of the stats. Gretchen not making an appearance. We had one Weaver deck. We did have one Malcolm deck. I'm glad you brought it up.
We had two goalkeepers.
Yep. So that was probably the new hotness that was released that we were going to see. Probably, I would say the combo CPDH commander of preference or choice. But we did see Russ bring his combo variant of Skirmish Rhino. So that was the other one, the more recent commanders that we did see here. But yeah, it was great seeing Finn out there. And then Hammers of Moradin was another one. I didn't get to see that one in play. And Viscopa making a tiny little reappearance here. And then I don't know, it's toggled as, at least on the deck list, for some reason it's toggled as Heartfire Hero, but we did have a Lagomos.
Yes.
Hand of Hatred. Yes. Yeah. I don't know why the website, again, working through things.
Spice Rack. I spell Rack. Spice Rack is acting a little crazy, so you have to launch the link to see what the actual commander is, because it was,
Yeah, like I said, if you click the link, like I said, I have it shared in Sanctuary. I have it toggled if you want to see the deck lists that we're talking about here. But yeah, it'll say Heartfire Hero, but you click the link and it takes you right to Joe's.
And I'll add that link into the description of the video too for ease of access. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is that, doing a quick on the fly like analysis of like the archetypes that showed up, I feel as though Sanctuary is historically a combo heavy meta. I feel like the people who played yesterday's event, kind of stuck with that Sanctuary combo-ness kind of feel. However, they weren't the typical combo decks that there were some of the regular stuff that you see, but people were trying new things. And the reason why I wanted to highlight that is I think that's symptomatic of this new kind of era that we're going through in 2025, that last year there was this huge focus almost aggressively focused on like, oh, these are the top tier decks. You got to play this and blah, blah, blah. And it seems like in the absence of, that sort of noise, people are actually brewing again and trying new things again and trying to expand. Yeah, yes, we know Gretchen is good. Yes, we know Weavers is good, but we don't necessarily need somebody shoving that down our throats. That's kind of the symptoms or the feelings that I'm getting from the community at the moment. It's like, okay, well, if that is good for this reason, then this should be good for that same reason as well, hence the experimentation. So
people, I don't think brevity, I don't believe that's the word, but right, like there's the courage, I guess, to now be in a tournament setting, right, to bring something along these lines. Right, Tony Baloney was out of town, unable to make it, but we did see somebody, Wild Bill, bring Val Agent, so we still have some representation for Val still here. People are willing to put the Gretchen decks down and try something else that might be viable. And then I would be dismissive if I didn't even bring up Mr. Lobert, who brought Sunhome Guildmage, which was really, really cool. Another Boros aggro deck that wants to create tokens and go wide. And I will bring up Corpse Knight, Clay, like, right, typically known for your Conrad or your Weaver play, but bring in a variant of Corpse Knight that seemed to do work, for what I could see, at least on the VODs and the streams, digging through that sort of stuff. So I
was close to going 2-1. I was this close.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens in those pinger style decks. You get real close, but I think it's just proof of a healthy format, right? That people just don't feel condoned to just play the same thing over and over again, or if they do get bored of playing the same thing over and over again, that they're like, hey, like this is a at least a comfortable space where I can bring some sort of strange, deck that I kind of brewed up. And then we did have Buddy Fish. She had to leave for some real life stuff, but looking for the name of that, Transplant Theorist. That was one card that actually I was speaking with Ben on the back burner with, that I thought had some legs. And then just all of a sudden just kind of popped up in a tournament out of the blue and was able to do its things. But it's nice to know that my train of thought on some of these, commanders is like in the same headspace as others.
Whoa.
I know my head's already big enough. I got to inflate it. I'll just get that, just pump it up a little bit more. But no, coming into this, like I said, if anybody doesn't know me, I'm an aggro player at heart, love to turn creatures sideways, but have picked up combo decks to learn how how they work, how they run, how they play. So in the event, if I have to commentate, or even for my own knowledge on how these decks are supposed to win, kind of help that aggro vein there. But so then it's just kind of like, okay, well, this works, right? This is it pile or whatever the case may be. What else is out there that's maybe a little unexplored that can maybe open up a couple different lines here and there? But yeah, mono blue artifacts is probably a known archetype that we have. But I think the special line attacks on the Theorist is that instant speed for some mana. You can save your combo piece from some graveyard hate, and then being in blue, you can go find it again.
Yeah.
So it looks at the deck. I think it definitely has some legs, and like to see some more people brew around that.
So even outside, so this is something else that I think is important as well to bring up. So we recognize that we have some interesting brews. People are being experimental while still maintaining that combo-esque, kind of vein that Sanctuary is known for. But there's something else that I wanted to bring up as well, because it was, I felt it was palpable. In between rounds, or as rounds finished up early, sure, you got people watching the stream and that sort of stuff, but you also had people sitting in the water cooler, like hanging out and laughing and having a great time and telling jokes. That's something that really hasn't happened a whole lot in the last 6 months, 6-8 months. And I feel like that's a kind of a return to form, because I mean, that was kind of like an original vibe of these tournaments, whether it be CC, Common Cause, or Sanctuary, is, people were hanging out and having a great time. So it is kind of sad that there's a little bit of a light black mark on this event, but and this is a huge but, with regard to the brewing, the performance of the players, otherwise involved in the tournament, the vibe that was happening in and around the tournament space, I feel like that needs to be celebrated. And I mean, we are true. I feel, I'm putting words in your mouth, but I feel like this is a return to form for tournament online space. Yes, asterisk, this thing happened. However, with regard to that, actions were taken quickly, and it kind of demonstrates your resolve to ensuring that this other thing that we're talking about, the vibe, this competitive spirit, the brewing spirit, all of these things have a safe place to exist and also are thriving. So I think I put a whole bunch of thoughts into your brain, but knowing you the way that I do, you were already thinking this as well. So you can just say yes, and we can ship it.
No. You are there. Like I said, I think that when the transition was made from Bobby to myself, and I think I put that out there pretty, right up front, that like I wanted to cultivate a community that wasn't afraid to brew, to bring their friends in to play, and at least try. I have a local play group that just plays Pauper Commander when I decide to show up or when I have the ability to. Little League season aside. But again, like I messaged one yesterday because I just wanted to. I was trying to avoid three person pots, and one guy that after playing and watching Sanctuary and stuff, and he's just like, he's like, I'm gonna brew a Zada deck. He told me this a couple months ago, and like 15 minutes to go, I was just like, hey, do you have your spell table set up and that Zada deck ready to go? And he goes, yeah, why? And I said, I was like, hey, if you wanna jump in here, he goes, what time does it start? I'm like, 15 minutes. He's like, well, if you give me an hour, I said I'd be able to be good and be there. So at least having people in my own personal life that I could like say, hey, this is going to be an open space, like watching that sort of stuff, and they'd be willing to jump in and just play games with everybody else is kind of what I would want. But at the same time, like again, hopefully at the highest level, right? Just because we're playing a competitive game and we are playing to win the game and maybe taking actions to do so with the information that we have, it doesn't mean that we hate each other, right? It doesn't mean that we have to have animosity. Now I know tempers flare and it is a competitive thing, but at the end of the day, right, like it's kind of like a sparring match at that, right? Like we can still go have a drink afterwards, shake hands, and have human conversations. So that's kind of like the vibe that I wanted. And again, you weren't the only person to tell me that everything felt kind of different or lighter. It felt like there was maybe like not that there was a proverbial weight lifted, but
there was. But there was, Dex.
So again, like I said, because that would have been my question to the competitors, right? We're like, now I'm on this side, just trying to get all the pieces lined up, and I owe a lot to Derek just for helping through that. A lot of silences on my end on the casting because I got to go click this and move this over, and if Wizards, like I said, if you didn't watch the stream or you watch Clay's video, please give me some spectation mode back, please. That's my only ask. Yeah. You can print Universes Beyond the High Heaven. I don't care. Just give me the spectator mode back for spell table, please. Yeah,
good luck. But also laying some flowers on Derek. Derek is phenomenal. Like he is super aware. Even in the little bit of the VOD that I watched for myself, selfishly, I rewatched that first game because I felt as though that was the pentacle expression of what I was playing yesterday, and I was kind of reviewing that to make sure that what I experienced in the game actually happened, kind of thing. And as you transition into that second game, I caught just like a little bit, and Derek's ability just to kind of like read the battlefield and like, okay, this is where we're at, blah blah blah, and just immediately start getting into commentating the action. Flowers for that dude. That dude is
absolutely,
he's all right.
He knows the stuff.
Don't tell him I said so, but like, because
his also encyclopedic
knowledge of cards
like is rivaled probably only by Alk, I think, from what I can tell, because it's just insane. I'm just hopeful I'm able to kind of maybe take a look at the picture and have an idea.
Yeah.
And I know we're doomed
That's
if
not
he
a
doesn't know
typical
that card yet.
RC thing, so don't be having some expectation, you know.
No, no. It's I said I look at the picture. So if they change the art on something, I'm like, I don't know what that card does.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
It's,
no, correct.
that's
I gotta
3
look it up.
visits. No, it's not.
Yes, no, yeah, you're right.
No, it's not.
But no, yeah, Derek was phenomenal there. Liam, of course, just being the judge that he is there, quick on judge calls. I think I only maybe saw 2. In the whole tournament. I'm happy. Like, I think leading up to the precipice, I think the surrounding aura was 11-hour finals in a CEDH tournament, and I'm like, I don't have that kind of time. Right, but like I said, I think the players were like, I think like the onus was there on players to kind of make sure that that doesn't happen, and we only had 1 draw, right? So like 19
2
people
judge
had 20,
calls, 1 draw.
Yep, correct. So it was efficient, right? People didn't feel overly too rushed. Like I said, I felt bad kind of going right into round 2, because I was worried about the timer getting started when people weren't even able to take a peek at that. So again, on my end, just working through a new website switch from Top Deck, because it was just we couldn't transfer that over.
And the whole event, I think the whole event was like under 6 hours.
Yep, started at 4, and I think we wrapped up just shy of 10 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. So it was just still under 6 hours.
I mean, once again, yes, it is absolutely true that this one particular thing happened. However, I feel that's been packaged, dealt with. Yes, there's some knock-on effects. However, everything else, the speed that we made through rounds, 2 judge calls, 1 draw, the vibe that was in the chat, the types of decks that showed up, the attitudes of the players, their competitive spirit, like all of that was great. So I think we can probably wrap this up on that note. Do you know when? I'll ask you the question on camera. When's the next one, dear sir?
So the next one, I'm looking. I was prefaced that yesterday, actually after Sanctuary, which was a good sign that people are looking forward to playing in the next one. Like I said, it's hard to make sure one particular weekend works for everybody. But late summer, August, again, trying to contend with other in-person stuff. So like fall-ish is probably going to be the contend. We'll get everyone through vacations and traveling, and I know we have RIW coming up here in July. We have Vegas in June, and a couple other in-person events. I think there's a CEDH tournament, a 20K in Philly. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh at some point as well. So and I know the Smoke Packs has his tournaments, and I got to get with Chris and see when he's going to do his. So again, just trying to get a lay of the land out there, and I want to get it at least announced earlier than I was able to this past time. Just because the transition happened. Yeah, because the transition happened for Sanctuary right at the beginning of Little League season, and I always get roped into coaching because there's never enough coaches.
So now you need to plan the Sanctuary event before you get any other invitations to do anything else, and they'd be like, "No, I can't do your Little League thing because I have this tournament." Or,
correct.
Yes, I can do your Little League thing, but like the 3 days around this thing, I'm not doing nothing.
Correct. Nope. Correct. And then just trying to keep my boss, my wife happy with having to be in my basement for 7 hours on a Saturday. But no, she was very, very fine with it. She understood everything that's going on. She's been kind of filled in, has no idea of Magic or the gatherings around it, but she's like, hey, that's your thing. Go do it. It's very, very supportive. But no, that announcement will come out here. We'll look to make that decision here shortly. Just got to look at my own personal schedule and make sure life isn't happening that I know of. But no, I would say probably within the next, I would say maybe 2 weeks, I'm going to try and get at least a tentative date announced, and then work around that.
Perfect. And of course, if I knew offhand what Chris's was going to be, like you said, I don't think Chris even knows when his is going to be.
I asked him yesterday. Yeah, he's like, I think around this time, but he's like, I'll get back to you. I'm like, okay, yeah, because he was in the chat and I jumped in after the stream ended.
Well, just know, like, for all you folks out there, even if the 2 online, the usual online offerings, we don't know exactly when they're going to happen. We just don't know when they're going to happen. But this is a great year for tournament PDH. Paul Scarecrow just told me about an event that they had on Friday night in the San Diego area. I know Ginger is running his year-long league in Iowa. Then, Smoke Packs has his like four instance league that's happening this summer. And I mean, of course, there's Philly. There's always Philly, RIW. Bobby is rumored to be putting something physically together, although details are sparse. But the point I'm driving at is that there are events happening all over the place. Oh, not to mention, how could I forget? I just participated in an in-person event in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago. So, like, there are events happening. If you can't get to an online, event, then more than likely there's something happening in the area around you. It's just small and people don't know about, it much at the moment. So just be on the lookout for events. And as soon as these guys make up their damn mind and get us a date, we can publish that and get it going. All right, Mr. Dax, thank you for coming on. We'll have to get you in here. I got some theory stuff that I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
Definitely, but that's another day. So
that's another video for another time. But no, thanks for having me and able to speak to everybody out there. And I guess my only ask at this point is just sign up and play. Right? I think the community as a whole is very, very welcoming. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I do it all of the time in tournament play. Right? I take it as a learning moment myself. Like I don't personally take takesies backsies usually, even in even in non-tournament games. So I take it as a learning moment. But most people are really chill, able to kind of get the games out there. But yeah, just sign up. I'd love to see everybody out there. Nerves aside, like I said, I think it's just a good time. And if you can, set aside the whole day to play some PDH, it's highly recommended.
It's a great time.
I think
it's a great time. All right, folks, we're gonna wrap it here. See you on the flip.